Hi, Ben. Thank you for joining us today for the first in our series of CX Coffee Conversations. Ben, I just wanted to get you to share a little bit of your CX background with us.
Cool. Thanks for having me. Quick introduction. So I've worked in and around the CX space for about 10 years now, in several different incarnations. But really my focus is around innovation in the space. So really background in data and technology and how we can bring that through to empower customer interactions. So a bit of a creative, a bit of a technology side of things powered by data. That's probably sums it up quite well, I think.
Who are some of the brands that you've worked with?
Over my time, I spent the first part of my career with BSkyB over in the UK, working in their customer intelligence arm. Worked then seconded to the Times when they went behind the paywall. So spent some time there kind of building out that product with the team there. And then moving over to Australia, I was head of Martech at William Hill for some time, and then kind of moving into the pure consultancy world with Publicis Sapient.
Have you seen any companies recently doing an amazing job in CX?
I think actually one of the benefits, if you can say that, of this crisis has been the kind of empathy that companies are building with their customers. So I think, you know, one that's always going to stick out is last week I heard my wife sobbing. So I kind of approached her and asked what's wrong.
Happy story, yeah.
Yeah. And she said that she'd received a call from our health insurer who'd just kind of no questions asked said, you know, you're going to have 3 months free cover.
Wow.
And it's things like that, I think, is sticking customers' minds way past this crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I guess given that, is there an easy way for companies to really stand out in terms of their CX? I mean, I know my inbox is full of emails from company vowing that they have or professing that they have some deep sympathy for my situation, whereas I may not have even engaged with them for 10 years or so. So is there a way that companies can differentiate their CX at the moment?
Yeah, I think you're right. We've first seen quite a bit of a generic response as kind of companies try to navigate through this uncertainty. But I think we all also seen that email, right, from the CEO of a company I bought something from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of reflective of the problems businesses go through with CX in general, even before this. I think companies struggle sometimes to understand where they sit in a customer's world. So I think my advice would be just to reassess your customer journeys, understand the value you're trying to provide to your customers, especially in this situation, and look for the hidden value. For instance,
What do you mean?
Looking back on what your company's resources are, your unique skills mix, and understanding what hidden value you can provide during this time. We've seen great examples of that through Dyson to even local gin companies making hand sanitizer based on the fact that they have those resources. So adapting to the times, doing what you can right now, that will really help you differentiate and kind of stand out and be authentic in what you provide to the market right now.
Yeah. Do you think then, as part of that this crisis will mean that there's going to be more of a human approach to CX?
I think definitely we're going to see, there is a need for heightened levels of service and basically facilitated by humans. But I think the key message is empathy and trust, right? And that's obviously facilitated by humans as well. But I think right now, digital is more important than ever. Back to your, to an example around call centers, right?
Yeah.
I think those call centers that are integrated with deep and rich customer data, like CRM,
Mm.
allows those humans to be empowered with data to drive that empathy and drive that interaction. So getting the best interaction out of each situation or each interaction with a customer via digital.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Looking back at your career, tell us about the sorts of things that you've done and any campaigns that you might have worked on that you're really quite proud of.
The initiatives that stands out for me was when I was working some time back at one of Australia's largest gambling companies.
Right.
We developed a campaign called Chase the Ace, which
Right.
was simply trying to guess how many aces there would be during a tennis match. We sponsored the Australian Open and we kind of launched that into market.
Yeah.
We'd modeled for quite a bit of return. It was going to be, we were hoping it would be quite successful, but we couldn't have predicted the success of it. And what ended up happening was we took quite a bit of a loss from a revenue perspective.
Right.
But the part I'm particularly proud of is that all the other metrics that kind of signaled that customers were having this great experience, lifetime value went up, all our brand metrics like awareness and sentiment went up. And what I really liked about it was that it was one of those aha moments where a business steps back and really reassesses what success looks like.
Right.
And really understands that CX can really power sustainability and longevity. And that actually led us to adding CX as one of our major pillars in our strategy for the next 3 years. So that one really kind of sticks in.
That one actually turned around the mindset within the organisation.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Great. And I guess, we're all trying to look beyond COVID-19. How do you think what's happened in the whole CX space is going to shape the future of the CX industry?
Businesses need to build resilience. And I think the first thing for that is to start building agility and adopting agile methodologies. That can help us pivot around uncertainty. And I think also around...
When you say that they need to build resilience, do you mean the ability to sustain themselves in periods where perhaps there's not the growth that there has been in the past?
I think so, yes. Any downturn, even looking back on the last financial crisis quite some time ago now, the companies that really survived that, but also rebound. Amazon is the perfect example, right? Let's go back to that. I mean, that's the easy example, but there's a reason for that.
Yes.
They understood that putting the customer first and really working around the customer need was important. They survived the dot-com burst. They survived that last recession because it built around technology that empowered human interaction. And I think that's a resilience we have to strive for.
Yeah.
Building technologies in to enable us to work more efficiently. And I think as we kind of start bouncing back from COVID, technology is a great investment because it shows short investment turnarounds. So it's perfect to start sinking your money into for that short-term.
So would that be one of the things that you would suggest to companies to really focus in on at the moment?
I think definitely. I think especially in the short term, my main kind of point would be to really focus in on owning the customer interaction. A lot of companies and there's nothing wrong with it, but I think as an example, companies have outsourced their digital marketing. What that's meant is those digital companies who are working on your behalf are not only doing the execution, but they're owning the customer interaction. So what I'd say is, by all means, outsource the execution, but really pull back that data and that insight to enable you to use that going forward.
Okay. So how would you describe the post-business world after COVID-19? Are you excited about it? Do you feel optimistic? Do you think there's opportunities? Or do you think it's going to be really hard going for a long time?
I think there'll be a mix, but I'm optimistic. I think some of the things, especially in marketing in Australia here, I'm from the UK, so it tends to be, in terms of digital, I would say slightly more mature in how digital is incorporated into the firm. In Australia, it's the transformation around digital within companies has been slow going in some cases. And I think those
we
who
often
adapt.
find candidates say to us that Australia's about 5 years behind in terms of adoption. Do you think that's fair or not?
Yeah, it's hard to generalize, I'd say. I'd say some companies are ahead. It really depends. You've seen a great startup community here in Australia, Atlassian.
Right.
I mean, who's more ahead than them in terms of agile, right?
Yeah.
But in general, that kind of reigns true in most situations. But I will say those companies who have already kind of matured in their transformation are finding that they're getting through this more efficiently. No one's really, I don't think, absolutely blazing through this crisis, but I think...
Well, it is unprecedented to overuse that word, yeah.
Yeah, those who have adapted are navigating it better. So I think that's a proving point. So when companies are ready to reinvest in themselves and kind of grow, I think we're going to see an uptaking in that kind of work. So the digital transformation space will be more buoyant, and those looking to really double down on the great relationships they've kind of created with their customers now are going to be able to do so and see the benefit of it. So I'm optimistic.
Oh, good. Great. Well, look, thank you so much for your insights and your knowledge today, Ben. We really appreciate your time.
That's okay, Louise. Always great to talk to you.
Stay safe. Thank you.